Hi guys, Andreas from Danmoto here, and today we have a 2014 Yamaha R1 in our shop. 2009 to 2014 models are completely identical, so all the parts and everything I show you today applies for every R1 from 2009 to 2014. Today what we'll do is I show you our slip-on muffler options. We have quite a range of different exhausts which I will show you later. And I will show you our Decat Y pipe which mounts here. And last but not least, we'll also install some Billet rear sets on this bike today. Depending on which part you're interested in, you can just later scroll forward in the video a bit, because we will not install everything at once, so it will be a rather long video. Depending on which part you're interested in, just have a look and just fast forward a bit. Very first thing we do now is we take off the original mufflers that we could install our slip-ons. And to do so, first thing you have to do is take your key and unlock the passenger seat. So that was rather simple. We put the seat away. We don't need it right now. Also put the key away. We just removed the passenger seat. Now we take off the driver's seat, and there are two bolts a bit hidden here. You have to fold the seat a bit up, and you can see here's one. Just take out the bolt. And it's the same on the other side. Fold up the seat a bit, and then here's a bolt which you need to take out. Just unscrew the bolt. Make sure you don't lose it. And then you can take the seat out and slide it to the back, and that's the driver's seat. So put it aside together with the bolts. So next thing we have to do is we have to remove the heat shield here, this cover. It's held with two bolts. Just take off the heat shield. It's the same on both sides. And here in the back is a little rubber grommet, so you have to actually pull a bit to get it out. I'll show you this. See? Here? It's a little grommet which pushes in here, so you have to pull the heat shield a bit. It won't come off easily. Put it aside, we won't need this anymore. And we go around the bike and we do the same to the other side. It's exactly the same heat shield, also just two bolts. First one, second one, and then you pull off the little grommet and the heat shield is off. Also put it aside, you won't need this anymore. Next thing we have to do is we have to take off this cover here. Idea is again the same, just two bolts, loosen them. First and second. Okay. I took out the two bolts which hold the shield, so it's already loose now. And here's a little clip which attaches this cover to the hose of the brake fluid reservoir. And this little clip, you take a flat screwdriver, hope you can see this, and you go in, and there it comes already, and you open it. You see it's just a little plastic clip here, nothing special. Just have to open it to be able to free the hose. So put the cover away. Put it aside, we don't need it anymore. And around the bike, it's the same thing on both sides. Here's also a little cover, two bolts again, but here's no brake hose, so here you just need to take out the bolts. First one, and second one here on the bottom. And here we go. Put it aside, we won't need this anymore. Next thing we have to do now is to be able to access the bolts which hold the mufflers under the plastic here. We do have to remove this plastic cover, the rear seat cover. First thing would be the bolt here on top. And after this, the two more bolts here. Be careful, these ones are plastic and they're very easy to break, and I need to use a different screwdriver. So I just removed the two plastic bolts here, and now you have to take out these little clips which are under the bolt. You see they slide into the fairing, so you have to take them out like this. You put these aside, you need these again later to install the fairing. And now there on the bottom on each side also little mounts here. I guess you can't really see them. That's not a screw. You actually have to just push the center through, and then you can take this thing out. In the center is a pin which is now inside the fairing. Later when you take off the fairing, to make sure you pick it up again. And we do the same on the other side now. It's really simple. I just push it through and that's it already. So the fairing itself is loose now. And you can start to pull it carefully off. Make sure you don't break anything, and you can slide it to the back, and you're done. Look, here are little hooks on each side which hook into the plastic on the bottom, so you need to slide it backwards, otherwise you break off these hooks. So next thing we have to do is we have to disconnect the cable from the lock. You just pull it out, and then you can push it around here and take it off. And that's the rear fairing. Put it aside. You need this later again. Now we're actually ready to remove the mufflers now. The mufflers are held here with these two bolts, and then with a clamp on each side of the bike. So what we do now first is we loosen the clamps here on the pipes. There's one on each side. We start with this one here. Use a 12mm socket wrench. And there you go. These bolts are usually rusted a lot, so you might need to apply a bit oil, grease, or rust remover. So now the clamp is loose. We go on to the other side and do the same on the other side. The pipe here is longer, it's a different shape, and the clamp is here. I hope you can see that. So again, 12mm socket wrench. Here the space is a bit narrow compared to the other side. It's a bit difficult to take this one out. The other one was much easier. Okay. I think the bolt is loose. Yep. Clamp is loose. Now we can take the mufflers off the bike. It's just these two bolts here. So that's the right one. Okay, take out the bolt. Now the muffler is loose and we can just slide it off to the back. Completely out. Okay, first one. And we do the same now with the second one. And just open the bolt. Okay, see, take out the bolt. Muffler came loose already. And slide it off. That's it already. Okay, so if you only want to install our slip-on mufflers, we're actually done with the removal already. You could right now already install the slip-ons, but we're doing a bit more today, and I will proceed now and I will remove the original catalytic converter from the bike and replace it with our Y pipe, and I will also replace the rear sets. So if you're looking only for the installation of the normal slip-on mufflers, then fast forward in the video to the point when that job is already done and when we put the slip-ons back on. Okay, so we removed the mufflers. Now we want to replace the catalytic converter and the rear sets against our parts. If you don't want to do the rear sets, you still have to take them off if you want to do the catalytic converter. It's all locked together. So the very first thing you have to do is, here's a cable coming, that's the brake light switch. That goes in here, and you see it comes up here next to the clutch. You have to pull this out and unplug it. And then we can take off the rear sets. Okay, so now we remove the rear sets. It's rather simple. Just two bolts here. First one. And the second one. So if you only want to do the catalytic converter pipe, then that's okay like this. You just pull the switch cable out, put everything aside, and now we could already replace the catalytic converter. But because we also want to do the rear sets, we take these also completely apart now. So depending on which part you want to exchange, only catalytic converter, fast forward a few minutes until we replace this already, because you can access this one already now and replace it without the need to take this apart. So, but we'll proceed here now. After we remove them from the frame, we have to remove the brake cylinder because we want to reuse it on the new rear sets. It's just held with two bolts here. Takes these out. And now we can open this clip here, and that's it. You can see here's a little spline which we have to open. Just use a thin screwdriver to open these. Oh, it's a bit troublesome. You have to fold it roughly straight back, otherwise it won't go through the hole again. And then I got some pliers and it's easier. So pull this one out. And there's also a little washer. And now you can pull this one out and disconnect the brake cylinder. These parts will reuse later, so make sure you don't lose them. One last thing we have to do is we have to take off the brake light switch, because we also will reuse this on the new Rearsets. To do so, you first have to pull here the spring, and now you can actually unscrew it. It's easier if you take out this bolt. I'll show you this very fast. Let's pick the right tool. So the easiest way is just opening this bolt here. Then you can take off the whole switch assembly. So make sure you also take the cable. And yeah, we have to also open this here, otherwise the cable won't slide through there properly. You don't want to pull the cable and don't want to damage it. So I get my tools and it's an 8mm socket. So you see I separate now this cover from the Rearsets, and now I can take off the brake light switch. This little piece is not longer necessary, so what you do is you unscrew the brake light switch from its mount. Stucks a bit. Take off the original spring, and we'll reuse this part, and we'll also reuse this one here. So you have to separate this from the bracket, that one. We'll reuse this on the new Rearsets. These parts are not longer needed, so I'll put these aside now. You want to make sure you don't scratch up your swing arm with the brake cylinder, so I'll wrap this a bit. What I'll get here is just an old glove. Put something over it and then put the brake cylinder a bit in here. This helps you to make sure you don't scratch up the parts. Now we can remove the catalytic converter pipe. It's rather simple. It's held with one bolt here and a clamp down here. First thing we do is we remove the O2 sensor, which mounts here. Use a 40mm wrench and just loosen it. There's no need to unplug it. The cable is long enough. You can just twist it. It's fine. And here we go. So put it a bit aside. Make sure you don't damage it. Next thing is we open the clamp here. And you have to open this one completely. So take the bolt out. And then you can take off the clamp. So that's the clamp. Put it aside. We won't need this anymore with the new catalytic converter, Decat pipe. So next thing is, or the last thing is actually this bolt here. You can see it's consolidated already. Take the bolt out and now carefully take off the catalytic converter. We have to reuse this piece here, so this one, so we have to take this off too. It's really tight. The bike is a bit old already, so a lot of the bolts are a bit rusty and stuck. It's not that easy. So, take this one out. We will reuse this one, and we will reuse the bolt too. So that one goes away. Little remark, why we exchange this. That's the catalytic converter. And when you use the bike, on the one hand this restricts flow through the exhaust quite a lot, so you actually lose performance. First thing. Second thing is this thing gets ridiculous hot and it sits directly next to your leg. So when you replace this with one of our Decat pipes, you on the one hand increase performance, you drop some weight, this thing is really heavy, and you reduce heat towards your leg. So we put this aside now. And here's one last thing to do. You have to remove the original gasket here. There's a gasket ring which has to be taken off. Show you this once. You just take a thin screwdriver and just pry it off the pipe. Oh yeah, and this one is of course stuck again. Has been on this bike for years and many miles, so it's pretty stuck in place. Okay, and here, that piece also has to go off. Make sure later it just looks like this, you only have the naked pipe left. So remove these parts. I put them away now, we won't need these anymore. That's now our new Decat pipe. Shape is exactly the same as the original one, so it mounts also like the original one. If you have already slip-on mufflers, as long as they fit with the original Yamaha pipes, they will also fit with our pipes. The fitment is exactly the same. Main difference is this one is much lighter. It flows much better because you can see the collector is made much nicer than the original one. And it doesn't get as hot as the original part. It comes with a different type of clamp than the original one did. So when you install this, you can see here slots cut it into the pipe, and the slots are basically just a bit less than the width of the clamp. So when you put the clamp on there, just make sure the clamp just about covers these little cuts. Don't push it up like this. If you do it like this, you can tighten the clamp, but the clamp can't squeeze down the pipe and it will never mount solid. So make sure the clamp sits on the end of the pipe. First thing we have to do now is we have to remount this little piece. So this goes in between here, just like the original one did. And we reused the original bolt here. But on our one on the back there's no nut welded on. So I put the original bracket back on here using the original washer, spacers, original bolt and one M8 watt nut. When we install this later we also reuse the original bolt here at the frame mount. So another thing is, because our flange here has no gasket, it fits really tightly on the header. So what you want to do is, you want to apply a bit WD-40. So you just spray a bit on here and rub it on. This makes installation so much easier. Just make sure that you don't get anything on your O2 sensor. If you get the WD-40 on the O2 sensor, the sensor won't read properly anymore. So, clean my fingers for a moment. So now we can install the Decat pipe. Bracket is already mounted. Next thing is the clamp. You slide the clamp on down here. Make sure the bolt head is facing that direction. Otherwise they can't access it. So we're actually ready to put it on. Mounts just like the original one. Put it in place. And then slide it onto the header. You slide it on about an inch, not too much. So then there's one big difference. You can see. Take a look. The original one had this gasket ring here and this other little bracket. Our one does not. So you actually have a bit of space between the end of the pipe and this little hump here in the pipe. If you would try to push this one down until here, then the alignment in the back would be completely off. So make sure you don't push it on too deep. This pipe gets pushed on just about an inch, not more. So that's already roughly in place. We don't tighten it now because we still need to check the alignment later. So what we do now is we connect this bracket here. This mounts just like the original one did before. But again, also here, just put the bolt hand tight in. Don't tighten it so far, because when we install the mufflers, we still need to check on the alignment a bit. It might be necessary to move the pipe a bit up and down to get the fitment correct. So I just put this bolt in. It's not tight. You can see the pipe still can move a bit because we still need to check the alignment when we put the mufflers on. So don't tighten it right now. What we have to do now is we put the O2 sensor back in. And because we don't want to break the cable, we have to do one thing. We basically pre-twist the cable a bit. Then put it in and screw it in. If you don't pre-twist it basically, then the moment you screw it in, you might just break the cable. Okay, so that's in place. That's still loose, that comes on the end. That's still loose, but already in place. What we have to do now is actually install the Rearset on this side. I'll get the Rearset very fast and then we can proceed here. So we now start with the Rearsets because the Decat Y pipe is in place, loosely, still not aligned. We put the Rearsets now on. These are our Yamaha R1 Rearsets, adjustable. They have here, I take this out to show you. They have a range of adjuster holes. So on this bike you anyways already have two positions here on the frame. This already gives you adjustment. But our ones here have then again a whole row of adjuster holes. So after you mounted this, you can first pick the height here, and afterwards you can still mount these here in any position you like. So that gives you a lot of adjustment in position. Another thing I have to say, that is the catalytic converter heat shield which we removed earlier, which just fitted like this here. And we will not install it now because we already have the Y pipe, but you can install it if you want to. On our Rearsets are in the back two mounting spots which allow you to reinstall the original heat shield just like it was before. You see, there are two mounting spots for it, and you can just put the heat shield back on and you can mount the Rearsets with the heat shield if you want. We will not do this now, we will not install this, but if you wanted to, you could fit these just like before. So, but we put it aside now, we will not use this heat shield anymore. So what we do now is, you see already I took the main body of the Rearset off. It makes just installation so much easier. And we'll now proceed and bolt the Rearsets onto the bike. These are these, where are my bolts? There are my bolts. The Rearsets come with all the required hardware, so there's all the bolts, everything is all included. That's this one. Nope. Where's my right bolt? That's my bolt for the back, for the bottom. Okay. Oh, I have something very important to say about the Rearsets. When they're shipped, these Rearsets are only loosely bolted together. They're not finely assembled. So you have to make sure that when you put them on, that you apply Loctite to all the fasteners, everywhere. Everywhere, take it out, put a bit Loctite on the fastener, then put it back in. I've done this now already because it takes like 10 minutes. I don't want to like bother you with showing you how I apply Loctite to 20 little bolts. Do it, please. Apply Loctite to every single fastener everywhere. So that's already in place. Now we put the brake cylinder on. So, and package it again. So, and there's now an important step. We have to remove this piece here on the bottom, and with our Rearsets you get your own one. So take this off and replace it. I show you how. You take a 13mm wrench to hold the nut here on the bottom, and then you basically go with a second wrench in there and just open it. It's just screwed on. So now I can unscrew it, you see. This piece we won't need anymore, we can put it aside. We'll install now our one, which came with the Rearsets. Take the bolt out the bottom and then screw it onto the rod here. Okay. Right now don't tighten because we still need to adjust the height. Now we have to bolt the brake cylinder to the Rearsets. You use these bolts, and of course I apply now a bit Loctite, so I use my big bottle. Apply a bit Loctite, and need to get my little Allen key. First one. That's the second one again. Bit Loctite. And bolt it in. So you can tighten these bolts directly. So now, you see, you need to adjust the height of the pedal a bit, depending on how high you want it. You do this by unscrewing this piece. The more you screw it down, the longer it gets, and the higher the pedal comes up. So this depends on your personal preference, how high you want it. I usually like it a bit lower, so I screw this back on top. And now we bolt it together. Very important thing. This goes together with one bolt and a lock nut. Why a lock nut? Because you don't want... You see, I show you the bolt goes through here, the lock nut goes in the back. And you don't want to make this too tight. If you make this too tight, this piece here gets squeezed down onto the pedal and it won't move anymore. So that's why there's a lock nut. The lock nut doesn't need to be tightened down. You basically just put the bolt in, then the lock nut onto the back, hold it, and you just need to make sure that the bolt just catches this plastic insert in the lock nut, that it can't come loose again. But you don't need to make it too tight. They need to be a bit, you see there has a little bit of play on the pedal, And that's really important. Otherwise, if you tighten this down, you squeeze the parts together, everything gets stuck and the pedal will get stuck when you use it. So this little bit of play there is really important, otherwise it won't work properly. Tighten it a little more. Like this. Okay. So now we have to tighten here also this nut again, which we loosened before. Okay. Okay. So the brake is actually ready. Now we can put the main body of the rear sets back on. You basically would need to pick now a position you like. I'll just put them now in the most backwards highest up position because that's the position I like the most. But that's really a question of your personal taste. You need to decide which position you like. But again, apply Loctite. So I take the bolt, apply a bit Loctite, don't need too much, just a bit is enough. And then the bolt is on here. Second one goes in the bottom. Again, take the bolt, bit Loctite, put it in, and now tighten the bolts. Okay, so we have the rear sets already in place. Now we still have to install the heel guards. By the way, they're real carbon fiber. That's 12K carbon fiber, not just some print or whatever. That's really high quality stuff. But before we put these on, should not forget we still have the brake light switch. So show here on the back ones. There is a mount for the brake light switch. So look, I put the original brake light switch already back together. That's the switch, the spring, and this little clip nut thing. And what you have to do is now, you just put this through the spring mount, push this nut in, and then you can screw the brake light switch into position. I screwed the switch completely as far in as possible, and now what you have to do is you have to hook the spring through this little ear here on the footrest, on the rear set. So take some pliers, without pliers it won't work, and put it in, and you're done. So now the brake works again and the light switch works again. And you have to route the cable now, again, the old position, same way it was before. Here behind the frame, pull it through, then up here around the clutch, and plug it back in. Tuck it all a bit in, that it looks a bit nicer. And you're done. Just make sure that if you don't, we don't use a heat shield now, so if you don't use a heat shield, make sure the cable doesn't touch the exhaust. Like this, it's just fine. It's enough space. Last step on this side now is the heel guard. It's really simple, just bolts here. So again, apply a bit Loctite. A little drop is enough. And then we can mount the rear sets, the heel guards on the rear sets. So first bolt, and the second one. Okay. Okay, so that side is done. Looks really nice, isn't it? That's completely billet aluminum, machined out of a solid piece, then hard anodized. And here you go, with a real piece of carbon fiber. That looks really hot. We now mount the other side. I'll turn the bike once around that we can see this, so I'll be back in a moment. Now we replace the rear sets on the shift side. I already prepared the parts here. But very first thing we do is we remove the original ones. Compared to the other side, here it's really simple. There is no brake setup and nothing, so the installation here is really straightforward. Just these two bolts here. They hold the Rearset to the frame. First. And second, we put this aside, we don't need these. And now we have to take the shift lever off. You have to disconnect the rod here. So to do so, use a 10mm wrench and you open here this little nut, because this allows us later to unscrew this joint here from the rod. The rod stays on the bike, but we replace the lever here. So it's just here one bolt, and it's a really tight bolt. And here we go. Like I said, the bike has been used for many miles, so all the bolts are, a lot of the bolts are a bit rusty and stuck and hard to take out. Okay, so now we have to disconnect this here, and basically we loosen this nut here first, so basically just unscrew this. This piece remains on the bike, we still need that. These ones we don't need, I put them aside now. So we directly start here with this. That's our shift lever. So again, it's billet aluminum cut out of a solid piece. Really nice. Inside here are also two ball bearings, which make it move very, very smooth without any resistance. And here you can still adjust the position of the pack. So here are like 4 adjuster positions where you can move it forward, backward a bit, depending on the position you have the footrest in and depending on how you like it. So again, we apply, first, before we apply Loctite, first we screw this one in here. So I put these bolts out once. And we first screw in this here. Here we go. If you would bolt on the shift lever to the bike first, then it would be difficult. You first have to screw this one in here. Then we put the bolt assembly back in. Make sure you don't forget the spacer here. Spacer is important, comes with the set. Then apply a bit Loctite. And I need to get a different tool. The bolt head on our Rearset is different size than the original one, so you need a different size of Allen key. Okay. Okay. That's it already. Shift lever is already in place. You can adjust the height of the pedal. You do this by screwing these two joints into the rod or out of the rod. You can adjust the length here a bit, and with this length you can adjust the height. And here's also a second mounting hole, so you can basically angle the rod a bit backwards. This influences how much the shift lever has to travel in order to shift the gear. So if you mount it here, you can adjust actually how much movement you have here in order to shift one gear. We'll leave it now on the outer hole because it's like the most common and most popular position, but you have an adjustment here. Doesn't look like much, but this few millimeters make a big difference in feel on the pedal. So next thing we do is we install the Rearsets themselves. It's really simple. It's basically just 2 bolts. And here, before I forget it, of course, Loctite. 2 little drops are more than enough. That goes in here. And now we tighten these. Second one. Last step now is we mount the carbon fiber heel guard here. Again, real carbon fiber, really nice piece. Apply a slight bit of Loctite. There's no load on these screws. So the only reason why we apply Loctite is that we want to make sure that they don't vibrate out over time. First bolt. And the second one. Let's make them tight. Okay, so the rear sets on the bike. Position is adjusted okay for my foot size and preference. You need to try a little bit by yourself how you like the angle of the pedal and the position of the pegs. Here's a lot of adjustment. You have two positions here, and then here you have like 3 rows of adjustments, up, down, front, back. So you need to play a bit with this and take a look which position you like. We're done here actually with the rear sets. Our Decat Y pipe is also already on the bike, so we can proceed now and we can put on the slip-on mufflers. For this, I'll get the parts now and we go on with this. We are now back at the point where you install the slip-on exhausts. If you didn't do resets and you didn't do a Y pipe, then you just have to follow the instructions for the slip-on mufflers. And then you also don't need to do the adjustment here later. We will need to do a bit positional adjustments on this pipe because we took it off and put it back on, so we're not quite sure about the position it goes on. If you kept the original catalytic converter on the bike, then it's still an original position. You don't need to do anything about it. What we have to do install now is our exhaust mid pipes set, right and left. They come with pipe clamps, and then you get 2 little brackets which hold the mufflers later. And these are actually the first thing we install. They mount here on the original mounting spots, and they go on like this. The original bolt one comes from the top, goes through here, and done. You have to see, they point backwards direction, this pipe. I do the same now on the other side. Put the bracket down here, put the bolt through, and make it hand tight. We don't tighten the bolts completely now because we still have to mount the muffler, so we might need to adjust the position a bit. It's enough if you make them hand tight now. That was this. Now we put on the mid pipes. With the mid pipes, you can see there again, they have some little cuts on the end. And the cuts are just as wide as the clamp is wide. So you have to put the clamps over here and make sure you leave the clamps on the lower end. If you put the clamps up like this, you can later tighten them unlimited, but the only thing that happens is the bolt will break. Because in this way, the clamp can't squeeze down the pipe, and you can tighten and tighten and tighten and tighten. It will always be loose, and one moment just the bolt will break, the pipe will never be correctly in place. So make sure you put them on just on the end of the pipes, not further. Don't push them further up. Don't do something like this. That's not good. That's not going to work. They really need to be on the ends here. So that's the short one. The short one goes on this side. I put the clamp on. That's our Y pipe, but it would be exactly the same with the original Yamaha catalytic converter. I just push the pipe on here, clamp in place. We don't tighten it now because we still need to adjust the position of the muffler. So right now we just leave it like this. Make sure you have the bolt pointing out in this direction here, because later you want to tighten it. If you put the clamp on the other way around, you can't reach the bolt. Now we do the same thing for the other pipe. Again, the clamp goes onto the pipe. We go the other way around. Here is the connection piece. Now our Y pipe or Yamaha catalytic converter, both is fine. The head of the bolt needs to point backwards that you can later use your wrench here, otherwise it won't work. So make sure you don't put on the clamp the wrong way around. And we push the pipe on there. It's stuck. Shake it. Okay. So that's already roughly in place. What we have to do now is we have to align the mufflers. I get the mufflers once, and then I also tell you a bit about the difference between the different muffler models we have. Okay, we offer for this model 4 different muffler styles. They're the 3 more traditional ones, which I explained first because they install all the same. That's our basic, that's the Carbon GP. Small, lightweight exhaust, full carbon fiber shell. This muffler weighs only about 800 gram. Sounds really nice, not obnoxiously loud, but nice, and very lightweight. Then that's the Titanium GP. It's basically, it's the same exhaust but with a titanium shell. That's a grade 1 titanium sleeve, hand welded. Also very lightweight, very durable, and the difference between is mostly the look. I need to decide a bit if you prefer titanium or carbon fiber. They perform the same, they sound the same. Mainly a question of personal preference. And then we still have this one. That's our MK2 carbon fiber exhaust. You can see it's roughly the same size as the other two, but the construction of this one is quite a bit different. It looks from the outside the same, but inside here is a second sleeve and an insulation layer between the outer carbon fiber and the inner core of the exhaust and the packing. So this exhaust will never heat up on the outside a lot, it just remains always rather cool. It's very, very durable because the fumes from the exhaust can never even come close to the carbon fiber, so it won't change color and won't do any fancy stuff with the carbon fiber. It always remains the same. And of course it has a more aggressive design. It's more modern and has a double outlet spout here with little plates, and you can see also the welds are like beautiful. It's all TIG welded. It's the same on the inlet. You can see beautiful welds and little heat shield covers. Beautiful piece of kit. Without baffle, all these 3 exhausts basically sound the same, they perform the same, they just look different. But there's one main difference. On these 2, you can install a baffle, but the baffle goes in here. This baffle on these models reduces the noise by about 4 to 5 dB. On this one it's a bit different. We have a pre-mount position here, you can see the hole there. We have a special baffle which fits into the outlet on this muffler here, which reduces the noise by nearly 10 dB, huge difference. So if you install a baffle on this one, it's rather quiet. So if you have, depending on where you're living, if you're like living in an area where like noise levels are enforced, I'd suggest that one with a baffle. The noise level is really much lower with this one. Without the baffle it's the same as these 2. With the baffle it's a big difference. We'll go later for a sound check and I'll just show you one of these because without baffles they all sound the same. What we do now is we install these. Installation process is exactly the same on these 3 models. So I will just show it once with one of them because it's exactly the same all over and over. And after these are done, I will still show you a different muffler version. We still have one which is called the XG-1. It's very aggressive looking, short exhaust, very loud. But the installation is a bit different than on these, so we do this separately later. We just start with this one. We start with the standard one, the Carbon GP. So I put these 2 aside for a moment. Very first thing is, what you have to do is when you get this exhaust, you have to shape this mounting strap. This strap wraps around the exhaust, so it comes with a little rubber liner and with 2 springs, and the springs are used later to hold the muffler on the mid pipe. So let's just separate these first. We put the springs aside, we don't need them right now. The tape off. So first thing to do is, you can see that's white here, that's not the material itself, there's a little protective film on here which you have to peel off. It's a bit like a screen protector on a phone. Just peel this off. You won't need this anymore. And now you have to put this rubber liner onto the strap. On this rubber liner are little edges here, little hooks, which mold around the metal here. Little trick from my side, if you have trouble getting this in place, it really helps if you apply a bit of glue on the back of the rubber. This holds it in place later, so it makes the whole process a bit easier. I won't do this now because I installed these like a million times, so I'm fine without the glue. But if you have trouble, just put a bit glue here on the surface and then glue the rubber to the metal before you proceed with installation. It makes things a bit easier. You see, I just peel the edges of the rubber over the metal strap. And that's ready actually now. So what we have to do now is we have to wrap this one around the muffler. So I hold the muffler, make sure I don't scratch it, and I just wrap this around here. It's really simple. So notice this. You see, when I hold it like this, there's still a little bit of a gap left. Like by hand I can't completely close this. That's on purpose, that's not a mistake. Because when we install this later, we put the bolt through here, and then the bolt will tighten this completely. Basically this bolt applies pressure and squeezes down the rubber underneath. So this makes the whole mount very solid and very tight. But by hand you can't properly close it, there will be always a little gap left. So that's the first one. I prepared the second one now, and then we put the exhaust on the bike. Okay, so I prepared now both of the mounting straps, and now we can actually proceed and put the muffler onto the bike. So very first thing is I slide the muffler on the connection pipe which we installed earlier, like this. So now comes the strap, goes around here, put it together, and now that's the bracket we installed earlier. So what you have to do is, our set comes with a bolt and a nut. So you take the bolt, put it through from the outside, then you put the nut in the back, and all you have to do now is tighten it up. Just prepare my tool once. I should have done this earlier, but I'm preparing it now. So the bolt goes through both ends of the strap, through the bracket, and then into the nut on the back side. Yeah, of course it doesn't want to go in. Plus A. Okay, so don't tighten it now. We only put it loosely in place because we still need to adjust the position of everything. So keep it loose at the moment, and then we do exactly the same on the other side. So again, I slide the muffler onto the mid pipe. Then I take the strap, put the strap around the muffler. Need to be sure it's in the right place. Just a bit higher. Okay. Then again, same bolt. bolt goes through both ends of the strap and then through the bracket in the back. Nut goes onto the bolt. And the nut fell down. So just put the nut back onto the back of the bolt. Okay. Again, keep it loose because now is the important step. Everything here is still loosely mounted. The mufflers are loose, the mid pipes are loose, and also our Y pipe here is still loose. So we need to now rotate and move everything until the mufflers align properly on the end. And that's what I'm going to do now. You see, I'm just trying to, everything moves still a lot. And I will now start adjusting everything. So all I did right now is I just moved everything a bit in position, rotated the pipe, rotated the mid pipes. Now everything is aligned nicely. Both mufflers sit symmetrical on the bike. Outlets are pointing the same direction. Everything looks the same right and left. So what we do now is we tighten them down. So, I just tightened these bolts and these bolts so the mufflers are already locked in place. Now we can proceed and we tighten the clamps down here on the mid pipes. Like I said before, it's important to place the clamps correctly or it's not going to work. So make sure the clamps are really on the bottom end of the mid pipes. Okay, first one. Now the second one here is on this crossover section. So it's a bit hard to reach. Got one here. Yeah. I'll first make it a bit hand tight. Makes fit everything faster. This clamp is really hard to reach. Difficult. I don't know why the pipe had to go this way, but yeah. Thank you, Yamaha, for making my job so easy. Okay. It's hand tight. Now I tighten it completely. Okay, now there are two more things we have to tighten here, and that's the mounting of the Y pipe. So there's first this clamp down here which is still loose. That we have to tighten first. Okay, and very last, the bolt here. Okay, so the exhaust actually is on the bike now, with the exceptions of the tension springs. Each one still has 2 springs. Very fast to get my pliers, then my pliers are already here actually. Then we can install these two. So it's really simple. Take these, take your pliers, pull and on. Same on the bottom. Hook the spring in, take your pliers, pull and on. But there's one thing now, because later I want to show you still our MK2 and the Titanium. So I want to change the mufflers later again to show you the other models. If I wouldn't do this, then there's one important detail. You should take your pliers and you should now squeeze these hooks together. This prevents them from coming loose. So you squeeze them closed. I don't do this because I still want to change the mufflers for my pictures later to show you. But if you're really going to ride and you want to keep them on the bike, use your pliers and close these hooks. It's really important. So we go to the other side and we install the other two springs. Same as before, take the spring, put it in, take your pliers, pull, hooks them in, and done. Top one, bottom one, done. The exhaust is on, everything is mounted, the Rearsets are on, the Decat pipe is on, the exhaust is on. All that's left to do is we have to remount the seat and the seat fairing and covers, and then we're good to go. I just get the parts very fast. We mount this piece first now. First thing you have to do is, again, you have to connect this cable from this lock, put it in, round with the cable, and then clip it in, and that's it. You can see it's all back in place, so the lock will work again. Now, remember these little hooks here. You don't want to break these, you have to slide them in from the back. They go into these little hooks here. So this piece hooks together with this piece. So get this aligned is a bit difficult. Put it over first. And you have to bend the plastic a bit. And now you need to make sure that all these little hooks align correctly on both sides. If they don't align, then it looks bad later. So everything aligned? Yes, everything aligns. You just push it back in place. And now we can actually bolt it on again. First thing is the bolt here on top. Same when we just reuse the original hardware here. And we're there. That's the right tool. Tighten that one. And that's all that's left are the two plastic bolts here. And these two here on the bottom. It's the same on both sides. I get these very fast. So it's these little clips. Just push them in. Both sides. Now the ones on the bottom. It's also just a little clip. You look where the hole is. Push it through on both sides. It's the same on both, I just show you one side, you don't want to make it too complicated. And once these are in, we just put the plastic bolts back in place. On the top it's a really little bolt, on the bottom it's just like a little pin which gets pushed in. So, as I still want to do the other exhaust later, I don't push these in right now because we still want to show you the other exhaust. I don't want to do it, take it off and on and off. So we just leave it like this, it just works for the pictures. So we can actually proceed now and put the seat back on. First, the driver's seat, you see there's a little hook, which hooks in here. So you have to put it on, get it to align, push it a bit down, and in it is. So we reused the original bolts in the back, of course. I'll very fastly get my tool. So we bolt the seat back on. Again, you push the cover a bit up so that you can access the bolts. And then you can screw it in. And now the same on the other side. Use the original bolt, put it in. Okay. Only thing that's missing is the passenger seat. It's this piece here. Put it in and done. We'll go now and do a sound check. I will later still mount our other muffler options for this bike, and I will show you these pictures separately later on the end when we just make a little video. But we only do one sound check with one of them because these standard exhausts, they all sound the same, they just look differently, so you don't need to sound check for each separate one. After I showed you how to install the carbon fiber titanium exhaust, I show you these ones. That's our XG-1. That's like the most aggressive sounding exhaust we have. It's really loud. But you can also get some baffle splice which reduce the noise. They mount a bit differently than our carbon titanium exhaust because you can see here there's a bracket already welded onto the exhaust. So we don't need the bracket which we had before. These ones are really, really simple. The mid pipes mount just like before, no difference. But you see, I removed again this little bracket which was mounted here before, which we need for our carbon and titanium ones. So with the XG-1, you basically just slide it onto the mid pipe. And you align it with the original mounting point here. That's where the original exhaust mounted to. You take the original Yamaha bolt, put the bolt through, then we give you nuts which go here on the bottom. And you just have to tighten it and you're done. So it's really simple because the bracket is already on the exhaust. There's no extra piece and nothing, no mounting strap and nothing, you see? That's already done. The only thing you still have to do is to put the tension springs on. So I get the springs, hook it in, hold it here. First one on, second one on the bottom, put it in, take your pliers, hold it in. That side is done. We go to the other side now and mount the second muffler. And it's just the same again. You take the muffler, slide it onto the connection pipes, then you have to align it with the original mounting spot. That's the original Yamaha bolt, put the bolt in, put the nut on the bottom and tighten it. Okay, so now we just have to install the springs again. Oh, I just have one. Put it in, take your plier, pull the spring, and done. I just get very fast the second spring which we need here. So I got a second spring. Again, hook it in, take the pliers, pull, and done. So, and if you, after you install them, that's important, use your pliers and close these hooks here a bit. Don't need to be closed completely, just close them a bit. It prevents them from coming loose. If you don't do this, the springs might just pop off after some time. So, the exhausts are in place, everything is mounted. I just need to put the fairing back on. That's the same for all the exhausts. Doesn't matter if it's carbon fiber, titanium, or the XG. Installation is the same. And then we can go downstairs and make a little sound check.